that we were talking about. I'm going to do this intro and explain everything to everybody. When you know after you first go live, there's not a soul in here.
But doing it for the benefit of those who are going to do a rewatch. So that's fine.
So for anyone that's coming in, this is kind of our new setup. Today, this is the Meeting Planner Music Club, and we are talking all about movie soundtracks.
Oh, yes.
And so, for those, what's that?
I was going to say, we've all got our particular favorites or ones that we recommend.
Yeah. And so anyone who's watching live or watching on Facebook and or YouTube, know that you're not going to see or hear the music. We actually have to do the licensing and copyright and all that good stuff. We actually have to add that later. So if you are listening to the podcast on Spotify, you're going to hear music as we introduce songs and things like that. For those that are catching it on bullet-list.com, Bullet List website, you will actually see the embedded YouTube video of the songs that we are talking about, or the soundtracks that we're talking about. But for everybody else, yes, Bob?
I was going to say, providing that we can find YouTube videos that go with those songs. We'll do our best to make sure that the featured songs appear, so we'll sort it out.
Love that caveat.
Yeah, you gotta love that caveat.
Keith was in full flow there. And he kind of burst the bubble.
So, but let's go ahead and talk about movie soundtracks, because movie soundtracks, they were important in the 70s, right? With soundtracks like The Easy Rider, and even in the 60s, or the Elvis movies. But I think movie soundtracks really came into their own in the 80s.
Absolutely.
So is this the start of the podcast?
That would be the start of the podcast.
Wait, you didn't do the intro. But never mind. Carry on.
Whatever.
I've spoiled it all now.
So...
Okay. I'm doing it again. I've ruined it.
We're going to rewind. We're going to rewind.
I'll go get my coat. Bye.
This is why people get to see the behind the scenes. Okay, I'm going to start from scratch. Here we go.
Good.
Because we're only 2 minutes in.
All right.
So, welcome to another edition of the Bullet List and the Meeting Planner Music Club. Today, we are talking all about movie soundtracks.
Okay, so who wants us to give their first recommendation?
I'm going to go. This is complete self-indulgence. It's of a certain period in your life. You know, I think we were talking earlier about, the soundtrack becoming the big thing from the 80s, 90s, and whatever. Well, I'm going to go straight to 2000. I'm going to go a really different genre, a film which is probably forgettable. Let's be honest, it's a forgettable film. It's Charlie's Angels, the 2000 remix. I can't remember the story at all. A lot of action, a lot of bright colors, lots of kick-ass, amazing, just typical Charlie's Angels. But a soundtrack. And I had to look this up. And the reason I know about this soundtrack, I bought the CD of this soundtrack, and I thought it was a double. I thought it was a double CD track, but I've looked it up subsequently, and it was actually only a single CD track. But
you could pack a lot onto a CD back in the day. They could really get a lot. I played it
to death, and it got stolen. I was robbed. Someone broke into my house way back in mid noughties and stole 150, 200 CDs of mine, and this was one of the CDs that disappeared. And
you went out and rebought it.
I haven't rebought it, but I'm going to rebuy it because it was such a great CD. And I've looked it up. There were actually 43 songs in that 43 in that film. It does say a lot about the film.
Which film was it?
Charlie's Angels.
Oh, you did. Okay.
So
cool.
It probably says there wasn't much content in the
film. Okay. Wait. So do you have a couple of songs, a couple of highlights that we can?
Yeah. Money. That's what I want. Dun, dun,
okay.
Dun, dun.
Oh, Flying Lizards.
Flying Lizards, absolutely. I love rock and roll.
Joan Jett. Wait, the Joan Jett version or the original version?
It was the Jan Jeff and the Black Hearts.
You know, I missed seeing her this summer. I had tickets to see her at Wrigley Field, and I didn't go.
Turning Japanese. I say I'm turning Japanese. I really think so.
Oh, what was their name?
Go on.
Not the Vapors.
The Vapors.
The Vapors. That's it.
Oh, we should do a music quiz. Oh, that would be
my goodness. What else have we got on here? Billie Jean. Easy.
What? Really?
Billie Jean was in there. Blur was in it. Song 2. So yeah. The original theme, Jan Hammer from Miami Vice, was in there. I mean, what a soundtrack! The music was so 80s.
That is pretty good. That is pretty good.
We had Destiny's Child was in there as well. Yeah, no, whole mix bag.
So if you had to pick one song that you were going to play for the audience, what's it going to be?
Oh my goodness me. Actually, Wham was in there as well. Wake Me Up Before You Go was in there. But that wasn't on. Yeah, I would say Money. That's one I want. Oh no!
Turning Japanese. Really cool. Good choice.
Oh, I now would have money. I'm going with a money.
All right, Bob, you want to go?
Yeah, I'm going to go with something. It's kind of obvious when you say it, but I don't think it comes to mind straight away, and that's going to be the Highlander film, the very first one.
Played that to death.
Queen.
Yeah, every track by Queen, and it's just an amazing album soundtrack. People don't rate the film very much, but just put it on for the music, if nothing else.
So now I actually have an anecdote about that. Did you know that Queen, that they approached Queen to do some songs, and they actually went, a song, here's 5.
they did everything in the end. Yeah, they were so keen.
They really went into it. But and that was one. I think that the movie was okay. The movie took it up a notch, right? It was one of those ones that probably would have gone and been forgotten if it hadn't been for the soundtrack.
Yeah, but it's such a great soundtrack.
Well, that does take it back to a certain period of my life. Was that 1987? Would it be something like that? 86?
Something like that. Yeah.
I just spent a fortune on some new speakers. They were Castle speakers, Castle Durhams actually. I remember them. They were beautiful speakers. They were in my bedroom at home as a teenager, and I had that album on cassette. And I played the first track, wind it back. First track, wind it back, because it had a really big bass line. What was the first track on the album? Can you remember?
I can't offhand.
I can remember it. I can hear it.
You know, it's amazing. We have the Google machine that I can actually tell you.
Tell me the first track of it, because it was a really heavy beat, and then a guitar comes in.
They're not in order.
I'm going to look it up. Hang on, I'm going to do that.
Here we go. The Amazon one. That'll tell you. We go. It is. And that doesn't list it either. Oh, my heavens. But that actually is a, chime in when you figure out what it is.
I think I've even got the.
So now for people watching, this is actually where we cut the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I can't find it anywhere.
Highlander.
Well, let's think some Queen tracks. Let's be honest.
Who Wants to Live Forever?
That was actually going to. Oh, really?
Of course it is.
That was what I was going to put down as being my selection, my favorite.
Wow, there you go.
It's a powerful ballad, isn't it?
It is a way to go. So Bob, are we ready for me to step in?
Sorry, I'm now going to put the phone down because I was going to look it up, and then I had to switch it back off airplane mode, and now I've got like a bunch of messages, including my mum, So I'll get back to that. So Keith, yeah, come on. What's your choice? Number one.
So I went round and 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 round. And finally, it was today that I actually came up with the one that I was going to lead off with. And we kind of talked about it before we went live here. And both of you have never seen the movie, which,
Oh, yes.
but it is the soundtrack to the 1990 something, 95 movie Grosse Point Blank. Which was Robert Downey Jr. I think Minnie Driver was in it. Dan Aykroyd. He's a hitman who goes back for his 10-year high school reunion. But it is one of those soundtracks that is just perfect, right? Every song that's in it. It's got Blister in the Sun by the Violent Femmes, Mirror in the Bathroom by The Beat. I Can See Clearly Now by Johnny Nash. Armageddon Time by The Clash. Live and Let Die, Guns N' Roses. I mean, it is an amazing soundtrack. So
I'm looking forward to watching this film.
Well, and I'll tell you his high school girlfriend, the way that they bring the music in is that she is a DJ at the little local radio station.
How clever.
Kind of clever they did that.
That's a bit like Reservoir Dogs as well, because they did the same thing. They kind of did the voiceover.
The K whatever sounds of the 70s.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, that's not a surprise because Quentin Tarantino is quite a student of film, isn't he? Not just a great director, but he's also a student of film. So bringing that in as a reference is
Now, normally, if I had to pick a song off the soundtrack to play for everyone, because they are my favorite band, I would probably go with Rudy Can't Fail by The Clash, but I'm not. I'm actually going to go with Pressure Drop by The Specials.
Great track. Great track.
Good choice.
That is. And absolutely go watch the movie tonight. You'll have a blast. It's a lot of fun.
Grosse Point Blank?
Grosse Point Blank.
From what sort of year? Late 80s, early 90s? When are we?
No, it was actually probably later 90s. Let's see. Grosse Point Blank was, and it is actually a real place in Michigan.
Okay.
The movie came out in 1997, so it's not even that old.
Late 90s. Okay. Cool. I am definitely going to watch that. I like a very dark comedy.
Yes. Oh, it is dark. All right, Stuart, we're back around to you. What's up?
Okay. Again, going back to a certain period of my life, I think it's Trainspotting. It's got to be Trainspotting. Just an awesome soundtrack.
Born Slippy.
Again, I bought a Ford Mustang in the early 90s, I think that was. And it was a 1988 Mustang. And I played this track on the CD player of that Mustang over and over and over again. It was Lust for Life. It was Atomic, Perfect Day, all that sort of stuff. It was amazing. Absolutely.
Born Slippy.
Born Slippy. A bit trancey.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
That is actually a spectacular. So at the time when Trainspotting came out, I was, what was that, 93, 94?
It would be, yes.
So that was before I began my career in the event industry, and I was actually managing bars at the time. And that was actually one of I always made sure it was on the jukebox.
It was brilliant. I mean, what a track. What a track. I mean, the whole album was brilliant.
The whole album is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. No, it's
wait, now you got to pick a tune.
Yep.
Iggy Pop, kind of. Yeah, it's got to be Lust for Life.
Oh, that's a good choice. Very good choice.
Lust for Life. Yeah, it is that. Yeah, definitely. Now, a question for you, trivial. When they go down the toilet, what track was playing there? And I don't know.
I don't remember. I watched it not too long ago too.
Yeah.
Have you seen the sequel?
Yes.
I have seen the sequel. I thought it was okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Trainspotting moment.
All right, Bob, you're up.
Okay, so my selection is just full of really cool tracks. I'm reading this off, so if I'm looking that way, that's why. My Chemical Romance, Bob Dylan, Janis Joplin, Billie Holiday is in it, Leonard Cohen, Nat King Cole, Simon Garfunkel. It is stuffed full of them. It is a 2009 film, originally written by Alan Seymour, the comic book writer who's done tons of really good things. I think he disowned the film. I'm sure somebody will correct me on that. It lasts like a couple of hours, and it's really, really cool. I enjoyed it.
What's the film?
The Watchmen.
Oh, that actually movie gets a bad rap, and it's not that bad.
No, it's not. It's not.
I've not seen it.
So, for example, and I'm looking this up. I've just done a Google search for this, and it's really, really good. So, example, all along the Watchtower, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
The Sound of Silence, Simon and Garfunkel. It's got Casey and the Sunshine Band in there. I'm Your Boogeyman.
Can never go wrong with Casey.
Nope, not at all.
No.
Seen them live.
Holiday, Leonard Cohen. It's just loads and loads of really good music.
And because Stuart has never seen the movie,
I'm getting straight into that.
It is the DC comic of the Watchmen, right? And it takes place in an alternate history in the 80s. It took the comic book was in the 80s. I don't know if the movie was, but it was Richard Nixon is still president. We had nuked Vietnam, right? It's a total alternate history, and it is pretty wild.
I'm going to watch that. I'm loving this. I'm loving this personally. 2 films I'm going to watch tonight.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to watch it, The Watchmen, then set aside a good chunk of time because it's a long film.
It's like 3 hours.
But it is worth watching because it's a critique on modern culture, on superhero worship, and all sorts of things. My selection would be All Along the Watchtower, Jimi Hendrix. Can't go wrong.
Yep.
Just got to watch it. So come on, Keith, what's your second choice?
So I'm going to stay in the superhero genre. And actually, to love this soundtrack, you actually don't need to even watch the movie. Just go buy the soundtrack because it's absolutely perfect. But Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, that's cool. Good choice.
Sound. That one, because it was he was pulled out in the 80s, he was pulled off Earth or whatever, but they had Fooled Around and Fell in Love, Spirit in the Sky, Hooked on a Feeling, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, Come and Get Your Love by Redbone, which is a freaking great song. But it's one of those that after we watched the movie, my son, who was probably 11 at the time, like he made me go get the soundtrack. And he knows every song on it now. I mean, that it is absolutely amazing soundtrack. And if I had to pick a song from that soundtrack, I am going to go with Cherry Bomb by the Runaways.
My goodness me.
Joan Jett before she was with the Blackhearts.
Nice.
Wasn't ELO in it?
No.
I have a feeling they were. I reckon.
You're not getting confused with Xanadu?
No. I think
well, surely they did the music. Did some of the music for that film.
Mr. Blue Skies. Isn't Mr. Blue Sky in there?
No, it's not. But that's actually a perfect song.
I love that song.
I think that was in Guardians. Maybe it's in Guardians.
I've got the track list up, and it's not on there. Sorry.
Don't worry.
Angela chimed in in the comments, and hers was the soundtrack to Love Actually, which actually did get an honorable mention from me because that was a really good soundtrack. All right, now you're looking.
So we're looking at busy stuff then.
What is it in there?
Mr. Blue Sky is in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah,
2. In 2, but I'll give you the
2.
I'll give you that one.
And I hate to say it, but Angela said, "Isn't it in Guardians 2?" And she's right too. So
Thank you, Angela.
Yes,
High
there
five.
you go. But so I actually saw ELO right before COVID. They actually came through Chicago, and it was the only concert I have ever been to where no one left until the encore was over.
Oh, nice.
The whole stadium was full. There were no one streamed out until the last song was played.
So
Nothing
cool.
Angela's comment.
So cool.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
have we all done our 2 selections now?
A little bit of trivia. Hooked on a
Go for it.
Feeling. Keith mentioned Hooked on a Feeling, Guardians of the Galaxy 1.
Yep.
It was on my thing. It's Reservoir Dogs, Hooked on a Feeling as well.
So actually, no. Let's do one more, Bob. Let's go
Right.
because I had pulled up one more. So Stuart, go for it. You've got another choice.
Reservoir Dogs, another crazy. So I've gone kind of disco, the Charlie's Angels. I've gone the druggy, trancey thing, and now I'm going Quentin Tarantino.
Reservoir Dogs was an awesome. I mean, any soundtrack that includes Steelers Wheel is
absolutely
okay by me.
Go put the lime in the coconut.
What you could almost, if you had Reservoir Dogs, you could almost lump in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, absolutely.
To make one giant soundtrack, because the two of them together, I mean, would absolutely, because Pulp Fiction had Son of a Preacher Man. It had Lonesome Town, Surf Rider, right? Again, all those really classic tunes. Quentin Tarantino does a great job with music. He
does.
Yeah, or actually whoever he hires to do the music for his films. They do an amazing job. But Reservoir Dogs was, because that was kind of his first movie, right? And the music, when Michael Madsen is dancing around.
The spin-off, the amount of money they made off soundtracks, to sell. I bought the soundtrack of that one. That was another CD I bought.
I bought that CD probably 3 times for Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
I mean,
the amount of
awesome.
revenue they've generated from good soundtracks, or the artist.
But now you got to pick a song.
Little Green Bug, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Little Green
Bug.
That's
a good one. Little Green Bag.
Little Green Bag, yeah.
That's a good one.
That was the one that was in the. Wasn't that on the trailer? That was the trailer. Yeah,
yeah, that is an awesome song.
So I think that's got to be a Reservoir Dogs track. Bob.
Okay, so again, I'm going slightly obscure. Not an obvious choice, but again, got a fairly decent soundtrack to it. For example, it's got Bjork's in it. Her music's in it. Ice-T, Portishead, Hole, Devo. It's again a comic adaptation.
Huh? What is it?
Tank Girl.
Oh my gosh, I have seen that.
Lori Petty.
Yeah, Lori Petty's in it, and she's fabulous in it. Oh, she's really, really good. So it's got, as I say, Devo, Girl You Want. I'm trying to look at somebody. Ice-T with Big Gun, Portishead with Rhodes, Hole with Drowned Soda, and great band name, who did Mockingbird Girl, The Magnificent Bastards.
And Malcolm McDowell played the bad guy in that one.
As he often does. He often plays bad guys, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah,
hey,
and
we all need a hobby.
Yeah.
That's
such
actually
a fun film.
That is a fun film, fun comic.
Yeah.
Fun. Now, okay. So now you got to pick your song. What's your song?
Oh, it's difficult. It depends what sort of mood you're in. Because if you listen to Portishead, then you've got to cheer yourself up afterwards. Bjork is always good. I don't know. I'd find Devo. I think I'll probably go with Devo, Girl You Want, because they're just fun. They have a fun time doing what they do. Yeah, it's just a great track. So, should we do a quick run through of the?
I got my last choice.
Sorry.
And this one, Keith.
So,
And
Keith,
this one,
do you have a track choice?
I do. And this one actually only came to me this morning because it popped up in my feed randomly that it is the 35th anniversary of this soundtrack being released. And it is, let's see, I'll tell you, it's got A Hazy Shade of Winter by the Bangles, Rock and Roll All Night by Poison, Inagata Davida done by Slayer, not by Iron Butterfly, and my choice, and this isn't my choice, but Going Back to Cali by LL Cool J, and it is the soundtrack to the movie Less Than Zero, which
Not a film I've seen.
again we've got Robert Downey Jr., Andrew McCarthy, shoot, what's her name? I can't remember her name. But anyway, another great movie. Oh, James Spader's in it.
I've got to watch this movie. Another one I've missed.
Yeah, this is it's a
A
bunch of
genre, please, Keith.
what's that?
A genre, comedy, thriller.
Oh no, it's a serious movie about drug addiction. But
Okay.
rather than people who are down and out, it's the rich kids.
Okay.
So,
I'm
like
going to watch
film
that's another one. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
So, and if I had to pick a song from that album, it is actually probably in my top 10 of all time songs, which is "Bring the Noise" by Public Enemy.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, didn't they do that together with who was it?
Anthrax.
Anthrax. Oh, that's
Yeah, that
such
is
a
not that, but
fabulous version.
this is the original, the Public Enemy version. It was
Yes,
after
just-
this that they did the Anthrax version.
I think in a previous music club, we did mention them as a great, bands together, great duet sort of thing. But anyway,
And love that. Bill and Ted, Second Journey.
Yeah, Angela
Yeah.
from the comment
Yes.
section. That is, and so we do actually have some honorable mentions, right? And
okay. So I'll read through them, and we'll then quickly chime in as into good, bad, whether you've seen the film or not. Okay. So starting with, and we'll try and keep this quick so we don't keep everybody up. Singles.
great soundtrack. It is that soundtrack is the soundtrack of grunge, right? It is. You had every great grunge band was on the single soundtrack.
Okay, I've not seen it myself. I think we've already mentioned Less Than Zero.
Yep, Love Actually and Reservoir Dogs.
Empire Records, which I think is your edition, Keith.
Empire Records had a really good soundtrack.
Okay.
Wait, is that another movie you haven't seen, Stuart?
Yeah.
Oh, So
I've got a load of films to watch.
That's actually a Chicago-based movie.
Oh,
It's a record. I think it is Chicago-based. Record store in Chicago.
Okay, one of my edition was Saturday Night Fever.
great soundtrack. Very good.
I bet that's actually on the top of some all-time soundtrack lists.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Top Gun has got to be up there, hasn't it?
Top
Yeah.
Gun's in the list. Yeah,
Yeah, Top
that
Gun.
must be pretty good. Heavy Metal the movie. That was your choice again, Keith.
Oh, Stuart. Yes.
Good film?
An amazing animated film. It is.
Yeah.
I say animated, but but make sure that no one under the age of 18 is anywhere near that television when you play that movie.
Very much an adult film with some very good. It's got heavy metal bands, isn't it? In it, I think.
Well, it's got Devo.
Yeah.
It's got Devo, Sammy Hagar, Don Felder from the Eagles. It's got shoot, I can't remember them all. Judas Priest, I think, is in it. It's a phenomenal soundtrack.
Okay. Do we include in this list Yellow Submarine by the Beatles?
Yep.
Cool.
Definitely.
Okay. The film The Crow.
Another good angsty grunge inspired Soundgarden's on that one.
Okay.
Guys, I've got to get to watching more films.
You do.
There's two films in a very similar vein. I think probably came out about the similar sort of time. Pretty in Pink and Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Both brilliant films, both brilliant soundtracks, without question.
Yeah, and I think I might have picked Breakfast Club as probably one of the best soundtracks of all time. I didn't include it in my 3 only because it's an obvious choice.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Saturday Night Fever. It's on the
Yeah.
top of everybody's list.
Fair enough. Okay, do we also include Fame? Is that a musical or has it just got good soundtrack?
Oh, that's a soundtrack.
Okay. Actually, in the
Did-
same vein, High Fidelity.
Yes.
That's a
And
good
ABBA?
soundtrack.
Have we talked about ABBA?
ABBA the movie.
Well, not ABBA the
Mamma-
movie, but
Mamma Mia.
what's it
Mamma
called?
Mia.
Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That probably has
That's
sold
good.
more.
All right.
Yeah, more soundtracks
Just to
than that.
finish it up, we've already mentioned Train Spotting. Top Gun is another obvious one with
Yep.
music by Berlin and others. Footloose.
Footloose was a good soundtrack.
I'm going to mention the obvious one in a moment. Skipping it briefly. The Graduate also.
Yep.
And
Simon and
I think-
Garfunkel.
Yes,
and I think the one that probably is also very high up in everybody's top 10 lists would be Apocalypse Now.
That's got like, just imagine those helicopters coming over the top. That soundtrack was,
Yeah.
the music was amazing.
Who was on that?
Scene.
The Stones, the Rolling Stones.
You know what? This actually leads nicely onto us possibly the next podcast. It's soundtracks because you've also got Star Wars, so you've got all those amazing tracks. You've got Superman, all those orchestral pieces,
Yeah.
all the Harry
Yeah,
Potter
that's cool.
pieces. But again,
Okay. So, any other recommendations before we go?
Well, I'm gonna say something. We all kind of screwed up a little bit in that we don't have anything. What? Go ahead.
Rocket Man, that is a brilliant soundtrack.
Yeah, that would be anything. Well, Elton John.
Thank you, Andrew.
It's always
Thank
good.
you, Angela, for that.
But I was going to say we haven't picked any, and this does actually date us a little bit. We haven't picked any movies that are more than. We haven't picked anything recent, and there have been a ton of great soundtracks recently. I can't name anything off the top of my head to save my.
No, that's the problem. We can't name anything, so we are of our generation.
Well, and actually, I don't watch that many movies anymore.
Yeah.
Like
We need a guest person. We need a young person.
we need
to
a
give us
young'un
some-
to
Yeah,
come
we need
in.
a young'un on.
Yeah.
on. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Bob. Let's bring this one home because we're now at 33 minutes, and for the folks that are watching this when it's actually part of the podcast, we do have to insert the music.
There are certain things we're going to say. So to finish up, then, thank you, Stuart.
Pleasure.
Stuart of Catch the Mice, who we did.
CatchTheMice.com.
Yeah, we didn't introduce you at the beginning, but we're trying to
No,
improve as we go along. And thank you, Keith,
Look, I'll
for
put
being
it.
a co-host on here. Oh, look at that!
That's very fancy.
Yeah, so you can find Catch the Mice on Twitter at catch_mice.
Yep.
All cool. I think we're done. So thank you everybody for comments, for watching, and links to follow.
Cheers, gents.